Fear of demons may have been watered down by shows like Supernatural, but imagine ye old days when it was the faithful telling followers that, along with a hope for a better world, there comes the promise of a much more terrifying one. Think hell isn't scary? Think again. If you've never heard of this entity, here's a quick crash course on the Buddhist demon known as Mara. He's evil, no two ways about it. Mara is deception, trickery, and dishonesty incarnate, and it's difficult to sum up just how bad he is. In short, the fourth largest religion in the world is based in some small part around the fact that nobody likes Mara. The Buddhist scriptures, known as the Samudra Nikaya, tell the story of Mara attempting to sway Gautama Buddha on his path to enlightenment by using a number of underhanded methods. There's the basic skullduggery, like rubbing bad news about the Buddha's family in his face, and more supernatural horrors like starting terrifying storms made of rocks and darkness, and summoning a horde of hellish monstrosities. In a particularly dastardly move, Mara is said to have sent his 3 beautiful daughters, the personifications of thirst, passion, and discontentment, to do a sort of magical burlesque show for the great teacher and try to throw him off his guard. In the end, the Buddha overcame all that Mara threw at him, which is still pretty inspirational in our cynical 21st century world. It's a story powerful and important enough that you've probably seen depictions of it and not even been aware. Statues and paintings of the Buddha in which he's sitting cross-legged and holding his fingers to the ground are depicting the moment of his calling on the earth to witness the defeat of the diabolical demon. Nasu was known by several different names, and as them all, she was Zoroastrianism's patron demon of death and decay. She had a nasty habit of turning into a fly and taking up residence in the bodies of the recently deceased. After that, she'd start the process of decomposing the corpse. And it wasn't just the dead who had to worry about her. A strict set of guidelines were put into place to ensure that anyone handling a dead body wouldn't be tainted by Nasu's sway. It was important that nobody handled the deceased on their own, since Nasu, in bug form, would climb out of the body's orifices and infect her new host. At that point, there would be no way of cleansing the still living victim of Nasu, and they would have to live in an area far removed from everyone else, where they would live out their life until they were elderly and then be beheaded and given to the vultures. Belphegor began life in the Torah as the Baal of Peor, a Moabite god worshipped by Israelites. What follows is a little of that Old Testament god wrath that you just don't see anymore, with a 5-figure death toll and plenty of weirdness. Over the course of the next several centuries, Baal of Peor made an astonishing transformation. He went from being a respected deity to Belphegor, a demon who liked to ensnare potential victims by disguising himself as a little girl and offering ungodly wealth, literally, for little effort. Honestly, as far as temptation goes, you've got to give it to Belphegor. He pretty much had human nature figured out. Also, and not to bury the lead, but he's a poop monster. Yeah, he's a demon who accepts poop as an offering. Go ahead and take some time to digest that. Belphegor is more than happy to wait. Be right out!
I hope you're not using the toilet, it's broken.
Okay, so as we were saying, Belphegor is a poop demon. 19th century rabbis recorded in the dictionary Infernal Dictionary reportedly said that the way to really worship him was while doing the sort of business best done behind closed doors. Why? He just really appreciates a good bowel movement. Sure, he's been associated with other things like lust, laziness, and the ability to grant wealth, but there are some better kept private revelations that once they're out there, there's no coming back from that. Belphegor will always be a poop demon first in our hearts. The demon known as Asmodeus appears in the Book of Tobit, a Judeo-Christian book of the Bible that's either religious canon or apocryphal, depending on which branch of Christianity you subscribe to. Asmodeus is said to be the worst of the demons. He doesn't hesitate to kill, but he did have an oddly specific weakness. In the Book of Tobit, there's a young woman named Sarah who very much wanted to be married. She became engaged, got married, and then, right before the consummation of the union, Asmodeus showed up and killed her husband. As a demon of lust and carnal desire, Asmodeus kept doing it and appeared on 7 of Sarah's wedding nights. For her 8th attempt, Sarah married a guy named Tobias. This time, the archangel Raphael intervened to tell the couple how to defeat Asmodeus before he could get all stabby. When the demon appeared on the wedding night, Tobias tossed a fish's heart and liver onto some coals, causing smoke that caused Asmodeus to flee all the way to Egypt. Raphael, who has presumably had enough of this guy, tracked him down, tied him up, and strangled him. Aamon commands 40 legions of evil spirits, and that's a whole lot of demons doing your dirty work. However, he took a step down in the dignity department when he was given a physical description in the 17th century grimoire. The Lesser Keys of Solomon calls Aamon great in power and most strong, then goes into a visual description that's akin to the way a troubled 8-year-old might describe a monster they were making up on the spot. He's said to have the shape of a wolf, a serpent's tail, and a mouth vomiting flames of fire. No doubt, understanding the importance of a good first impression, Aamon was said to be able to take another shape too. When commanded, he could turn into a man, just a regular old man, with a raven's head and dog teeth. For all of the buzz about demons that you get in Christianity, they're pretty thin on the ground in the Bible itself. There's Abaddon in Revelations, an upper management type in hell, and then there's Legion, a collection of demons that Jesus parlays with in the Gospel of Mark, dropping them into bodies of pigs and then watching them commit mass suicide. And then there's Beelzebub, a demon with roots in old Philistine religions. His name comes up in the Bible a few times in the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, where he's closely associated with Satan. But another translation of Beelzebub is Lord of the Flies. John Milton's theory, described in Paradise Lost, is that he's a lieutenant of hell, second in power only to Satan, which is what folks in the industry refer to as resume gold. The demon showed up in the Testament of Solomon under the name Beelzebub, and gleefully took responsibility for everything from causing men to worship demons, priests to break their vows, and causing the wars that brought down entire civilizations. More recently, relatively speaking, Beelzebub's career took a turn to the smaller scale. During the Salem witch trials, he was blamed for inhabiting the bodies of the accused. Aamon is another of the demons described in the Lesser Keys of Solomon. A Duke of Hell, he's one more in the great satanic conga line of servants of Lucifer. The closest thing to a flattering remark that can be made about Amos's physicality is sort of a backhanded compliment. One of his heads is supposed to be a real looker, the human one. And here's the thing, saying one head is objectively attractive is, at the same time, leaving out the other two. That's on purpose, because the other two heads are non-traditional. One is a viper, and the other is either a cat or a calf, depending on the translation. He rides a snake and is apparently able to maketh one witty. His main job, though, is setting things on fire. If there's one thing he loves to do, it's that. He's said to carry a firebrand in his hand so as to be able to burn cities, castles, and great places to the ground. The demon lord known as Moloch started strong in the nightmare fuel department and just seems to have gotten more horrific with every successive description. In the Bible, he's presented as another in a long line of heathen gods. The book of Leviticus seems especially worried about the guy, saying that anyone who gives Moloch their children will be rocked to sleep, aka stoned to death.
By virtue of the authority vested in me. Oh, lay off, we haven't started yet. Come on, who's through that?
There seems to be a good reason for concern. Moloch is big into chowing down on kids, a habit that has added implied grossness when you find out that he's a cow's head. It's just, if you know how a cow eats, the visuals get exponentially more horrific. Moloch shifted and warped from the time of Moses, turning into a feared high-level lord of hell. In the second book of Paradise Lost, he gives an enthusiastic speech to the members of the parliament of the underworld, encouraging them to go to war with heaven immediately. In the first book, we're given a description of his work attire. He's smeared with blood from human sacrifices and the tears of mournful parents. So he's not just a baby killer, but he's also a messy eater, and one of the most terrifying demons from any religious text. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about the strangest beings in religious history are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.